Hey all, so this is another follow-up webinar which we have around cloud competency CoE. So in this talk, I have Arvind with me, who is part of strategy and architecture, Collab Technologies. And in this talk, we will be discussing various aspects, what all different models and the challenges which you may see in while building the cloud CoE. Okay. Arvind, please move to the next slide, the next one. Yeah.
Okay,
So Arvind, why don't you quickly start with that and I'll join you in between.
sure. Thanks, Sachin. Thanks for inviting me for this talk. So Cloud CoE, I think this is the most flourishing model in the industry where they're adopting cloud. And why it is important? And there are multiple factors to that, but there are three things which is very, very important. The first is about the understanding about cloud, right? The definition and the terms and the way you approach cloud. I think this all are different, and the various line of businesses within an organization or various departments within even your IT departments as well have a different perspective to it, right? And most of the questions people ask about, like, where would be my data, what kind of a security that a cloud providers can actually give it to me. I think the entire understanding, and that is where we need a CoE which can actually define those kind of understanding and go from there. The second piece is about the lack of direction, right? So the direction is a very important construct where if you start your cloud journey using maybe a simple POC or maybe one of the innovation point of view, you might end up doing something onto cloud, but then you'll not be sustainable, growth in that front. So you need a direction where what from a POC, what can evolve towards a full-fledged business capability on the cloud. And that is where kind of actually direction plays a role. Plus direction also plays a role on how to define whatever is there onto the cloud, right? The third piece, which is kind of related to direction, is about the communication. And it is more I say it is less, because communication is what you need to have about cloud, because there are perceptions being made. If there is a certain team who's doing on cloud, and there are senior stakeholders, they have a perception about cloud. So you need to make sure that the senior stakeholders point of view, or the organization COE, or maybe the CEOs or maybe CXOs of the organization, when they define something about cloud, it is being replicated back to the lower end of the cloud, or to that particular organization, right? So that's about the communication. So with that, I think these are the three challenges. So actually, Sachin, what is your view on that?
Yeah, so I'll quickly share my experience and why I feel that, why it is important to have CoE from the day one, because I have been working closely with some of the organization, and recently one of the customer, they are huge in the cloud. When I say they are huge, they have about 20,000 plus instances already in AWS, and they started about a couple of years back. However, they never thought of having a CoE. They thought, let's go ahead with the product-based model where, let product owner decide what they want. So what they have end up is they have about 27 different products within the company, and now every product is the way they are doing the cloud. They are doing the cloud on their own way, right? So they do not have any common consolidation around the tooling. They don't have any common consolidation around the security, around the org framework. It's like, and some of the product owners are ahead if you talk about the stabilization and the innovation around the cloud. However, some are still struggling to have a basic framework, basic security principles around that. So now what they are doing is they are having a CoE. They are introducing a CoE because um, they somehow felt that it is must have. So now they are going ahead with the common framework. With that, I think let's move to let Arvind, let's move to the next slide, and where we can talk more about some of the benefits.
Mhm. Okay, so I think the core benefits what COE can brings onto the table is about the driving driving momentum, right? It's not about one short thing where you just put something on cloud and then you forget, right? And that is where the driving momentum plays a role, and COE can give that momentum because of the direction that it provides. The second is about the reusable framework and governance, which I think Sachin, you rightly touched upon. I think that is where it plays a role. It plays a governing body role where what goes onto cloud, whether it is from a security perspective or from a actually confidentiality perspective about data or the compliance. I think that is where it'll all plays a role, and it makes sense for COE to actually do that. And so I'll invite you to talk about cloud knowledge and learning, because that is where you've been involved into multiple organizations, right, Sachin?
So knowledge and learning, what I feel is that it is a core pillar of when you talk about building a COE within the organization, where you need to have keep on having the training, because training and reskilling of your existing and the new resources which you hire for, because the pace of innovation and the pace of these cloud platforms are doing the development around the cloud. It's like that in morning you discuss something and by evening that may not have a relevance, right? So you need to have a good you need to have a hand to hand balance, where you are doing all the trainings required, reskilling to the people who are going to be part of this these teams. So Arvind, you would like to talk about some of the cloud offering and org strategy quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a very important aspects of it actually, and that is where COE fits the bill. Because what happens is that CEOs and CXOs and CFOs, right? They have their own way of defining a strategy, and cloud may change some of them. But then the way they define a strategy is like, so, okay, so I'll give you example. Like, there's my operating model which is working on 25%. I wanted to go to 20. I wanted to go to maybe a 20% of, or maybe actually 28% of the operating margin, right? How can that turn up to a cloud adoption? What kind of a business capability which will we target first, based on the technology, based on the organization objective, right? And that's where the synergy with the organizational strategy plays a vital role, and that is where COE plays a role to actually do that, to be in the middle, and fulfilling organization objective, as well as making sure that things going smoothly onto the cloud. So over to you, Sachin.
So I think pretty much we have touched upon this, and probably for how part, like how we build that, what all. So we have another deep dive session planned for this, and definitely we will focus more on some of the core pillars around the CU. Thank you.
Thank you.